Ring-a-ding-ding, that's the bell. Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rochester Rotary August 18th meeting. My name's Ron Lichtel. I serve here as the Rochester Rotary Club president. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the
republic
for which it stands,
nation,
indivisible,
visible, liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
All right. Would you please join me in the Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, or do?
Is it the truth?
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Be beneficial.
Beneficial to all.
and will it be
Will
fun?
it be fun for all? That's Wayne's edition. Now today, I think we have Linda giving the invocation.
Please pray with me. Gracious God, we thank you for this day, for the beauty that surrounds us, and for the plentiful blessings of friendship and love. We give you praise for your abundant mercy and grace that we receive. We thank you for your faithfulness, even though we are sometimes not that faithful to you. In this time of great uncertainty and upheaval, we come before you ready to pour out our worries, anxieties, and fears at your feet. We are in need of your peace and truth to soothe our hearts and spirits right now. We ask for your mighty power to surround us. Please guide our path through life and make our enemies be at peace with us. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Let your peace reign in our family, at our place of work, businesses, and everything we lay our hands on. Make us a light for others to see your strength and grant that we may choose the way of peace. Lord, hear our prayer. Amen.
Amen. Very nice.
If you're a guest with us today, please go on the Zoom chat and enter your name, phone number, etc., so that our membership chair, Stuart Signer, can get a hold of you. That was the guy that came in really late. All right, our 15th person here today was Linda. So you don't have to get any fines today. Are there any happy bucks? Please go into the chat and put those in, and we'll recognize them. Tom says, happy buck, the weather is actually great. Linda Eastman, it's truly great to see all of my Rotary friends. Kyle, same to you, Linda. Hope all is well. I'm Duncan. I'm happy that our leader dog puppy is growing up, not chewing as much. I didn't know you had one of those. That's got to be cool.
Ron, I have a verbal happy buck.
All right, hold on one second. The mayor says, happy buck for Stu. I'm going to Health Quest for the first time, and he hasn't overcharged me once. Well, it's time to get that bill up, Stu. Kathy Lazinski, 300 kids got school supplies on Saturday, and we are expecting more to come as the school year gets closer. Thanks, Rotary. Yeah, we did a bunch of them bags that night. Peter, happy my boys are going back to college for now. All right, who was that said that? Was that Tom?
Ebinger.
Oh, Bill Ebinger. Okay, go ahead.
I have a verbal happy buck. I've been in the park a couple times last week, and our community is really using that park. It's a lot of great compliments. Yep. And as yesterday, I noticed that there was a fellow sitting on a bench and two people facing him, and they were in deep conversation and deep thought. So I went over and asked him if I could take a picture, because I need some pictures for my presentation. And they agreed. And I said, I saw you over in deep conversation, and it was an attorney, a local attorney with his clients. He decided to meet in the park and have a conversation there. So everybody's using it. And I do want to ask everybody to go on our website, go to the park, download the engraved brick form, and just have it on your desk. And if you would, maybe consider to honor somebody or memorialize someone, and that will really help us out. We've got shortcomings this year because of COVID, and we're responsible to keep that park going. It costs us probably about $4,000 a year to keep it open. So we do need some help from our members, and we are having a campaign right now for engraved bricks. So if you would, just consider downloading one of those forms, put it on your desk. You don't have to do it right now, but sometime during the year, I'm sure you're going to look at that and say, this is an opportunity for me to support the park and honor somebody. So thank you. That's my happy buck. It's probably a $10 happy buck. That's it. You're not on, Ron.
All right, moving on. Member birthdays. We didn't have any this week, but we did have one club anniversary. Alan McClellan's been with us 11 years already. That's awesome. We had another on the chat from Linda. It says, happy my nephew's house is now framed and on the way to being a 3D structure. That's cool. And Jay Eastman says, Bill, if an attorney is using the space, bill him. Okay. All right. Club announcements. I saw a statement that I thought was pretty good because everybody's got their own view on what's going on with COVID. Some are real serious about it. Others aren't. But I saw this, I thought was pretty good. It said, just because someone isn't afraid of COVID doesn't mean he or she doesn't believe in it. He or she understands the risk, but doesn't prioritize fear over life. I thought that was pretty good. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm tired of being locked up. I want to get back to face-to-face meetings. We have a 6380 Members First Summit. It's going to be Thursday, August 27th. It's going to be a Zoom from 6 to 9. You can register basically on Club Runner. It's under Members First Summit. There's all kinds of speakers. That look pretty good. Ernie Schaefer, you had an update for us, and I saw that you had a Paul Harris Award also. You're muted. You're muted. John, can you unmute him?
I can't hit automatically set. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I'm just going to assume that he was giving me the Paul Harris. Can we just assume that?
You
No.
can assume it, but then I'll have to charge you for it. Okay, let me start over. Sorry about that. So I want to do a couple of things here today. I'm going to give you a brief history of the foundation. I want to kind of summarize what happened last year, how much money we gave to the foundation, briefly go through the goals for next year, and then top it all off with the presentation of Paul Harris. So just by way of history, the Rotary Foundation was founded in 1917 by the 6th president of Rotary International, Arch Klump. It was funded to do good in the world. It has grown from its initial contribution in 1917 of $26.50, and that was given by the Rotary Club of Kansas City, Missouri. To today, it has assets of more than $4.4 billion. The Rotary Foundation made its first grant of $500 to the International Society for Crippled Children in 1930. And to this day, it continues to do good work in the world. Just kind of a side note, I think a lot of you are aware that one of the major goals of Rotary International is fighting polio. And there are matching funds dedicated by the Gates Foundation. And I'm pleased to announce that last year, Rotary Foundation, the Polio Fund, made its commitment of $500 million, and that will be matched, I think, 3 times by the Gates Foundation. So the fight against polio continues, and we certainly played a big part in that, which I really want to talk about now. So as a club, last year, we donated $34,599.17 to Rotary International through the foundation, or to the foundation. We had 8 Paul Harris donations, that's $8,000, and we donated $26,000 for polio. Of course, the majority of that was the $25,000 that the Pixleys donated for that cause. So in total, almost $35,000, and that's a major accomplishment. And I know our district did very well donating to polio and supporting the foundation, and obviously our club was a major part of that. So our goals for next year are to actually achieve 10 Paul Harris Awards. We did 8 last year. We're going to push a little harder this year. You can expect to see some emails, monthly updates, and more information on the foundation, because it is vitally important that we continue to support that. Incidentally, the foundation has made major donations throughout the world to support COVID initiatives. A lot of clubs have turned in requests, grant requests, to fight particular issues or particular situations related to COVID. So the foundation continues to do good work, and we need to continue to support it. So anyway, 10 Paul Harris's. We want to raise $1,000 internally with the club for polio. Last year we did Pizza for Polio. We're going to try to work something else this year to up the ante a bit. But basically we want to support the polio, and then hopefully we'll have individual donations that significantly increase that amount. So that's a major goal for us. So I encourage you all, if you have an inclination to support the Rotary Foundation, get a hold of myself. You can get a hold of Jay Eastman, email us, call us on the phone, whatever. If you just have a question, we're here to answer them. We are going to be making monthly presentations on a whole lot of different issues related to the foundation, and we really are looking for your support to continue this club's really stellar performance when it comes to support of the foundation. So with that, it is my extreme pleasure to recognize one of our own, Tom Naveau. Tom, on behalf of the Rochester Rotary Club, District 6380, Rotary International, it's our honor to award you with this Rotary pin. Can you see that, everyone? This is Tom's 3rd Paul Harris Award. See the 2 crystals there. And this pin is simply a token of our appreciation for your major donation to the Rotary Foundation. Certainly in making this contribution, you have demonstrated one of the guiding principles of Rotary, and that is service above self. So Tom, Congratulations. Too bad I can't hand this to you in person. I will be putting it in the mail in the next day or so. And thank you again for your major contribution to Rotary International. Let's stand and give Tom a round of applause.
All right.
Thank you, thank you.
Want to say a few words, Tom?
That's enough.
I'm fine. Thank you.
Fine. Well, thanks
Very much.
again.
Congratulations, Tom.
Good
And
going,
thanks,
Tom.
Ernie, for the update. Next is Tom Nouveau. I said Tom Newby. Anyway, Tom Nouveau is supposed to give us a update on something coming up.
Mr. Somerville, if you can, please put me up. Okay, so Thursday evening on September 3rd, 2020, we're going to start at 6 p.m. and run it till maybe 8:30 or so. It's going to be at the Riverquest Banquet Center. When you enter the building, go out to the patio area. It is covered by a huge tent outside with tables underneath. There'll be plenty of room to space yourselves out. The Rochester Club is going to be giving out an appetizer, not a dinner there, Ron Lichtel. And each member, you're going to be responsible for your own beverage costs, whether it's going to be non-alcoholic or, in my case, I'll have a few scotches. So you have to wear a face mask when you enter the building, but while you're eating, you can remove it. So make sure you have your wife or your significant other mark the calendar. Again, this is for anybody that wants to venture out and have a social gathering. Those of you that are still wanting to stay at home, I understand. There will be no rebuttals or questions asked. It's just, this is our way of getting out and kind of touching with each other and saying, hey, what's going on in your life? And let's have just a little get together. So this is the first of our social things, and hopefully we can get a good attendance. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Like a lot of people, I'm looking forward to getting away from the Zoom a little bit and getting out there and meet and greeting people. Next, we have Rotarian of the Week. Is Roger Berg here today? Come on, that's what is this, 2 or 3 weeks? We got to get a hold of him, tell him to bring that back. All right, he's not here, so we'll move on. Steve Shettenham, our sheriff today.
Good afternoon. If we could get everybody to start by putting your arms out straight across for me, I appreciate that. Very good. It just makes me feel better while I'm doing the sheriff's report because I know now we're all socially distanced. So thank you very much for that. Looking around the screen, we did see a few interesting things on the screen today. Phil Loman, just a reminder, when the Pledge of Allegiance, its hats and horns should be removed. So just a reminder of that. I noticed we still had your horns on during that time. Did notice the salute too. We appreciate that. That's very respectful of the flag, and so we appreciate that. Brian Barnett has got some kind of mood lighting thing going on. I don't know if that's some special movie thing, TV thing. I don't know what it is, but it's just like right across his eyes. It actually is a little creepy, but just something that I noticed when I was looking around. Greg Schaefer didn't realize was a magician. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but all of a sudden he was on the left side of my screen, and next thing you know, he was standing next to Ernie and then back again over. So $5 for that magic trick. That was incredible that he was able to do that. Jeff Frosna, please, it might be time to tone down the fire a little bit. It is summertime. I don't know if you got, enough logs on the fire there. That thing's been going pretty hot there. Jeff Whitby, we're not going to find you today because apparently you need the money to pay the light bill so you can turn the lights on. We just see this black screen there, so we're a little bit worried about about you. Some other things just to keep in mind, this weekend was the unofficial Dream Cruise. So if you're still stuck out on Woodward cruising, that's a $5 fine. If you have not bought a car from Shelton Buick, owned a classic car, or been called a classic, those are all $5 fines. We talked about the back to school and getting the backpacks ready. So it is back to school time. No, I guess that's wrong. It's back to remote learning time. No, I guess that's wrong. It's back to virtual learning time. Well, whatever it is, it's a $5 fine. If you have anybody that's doing any kind of learning, whatever it is, that's $5 fine. Let's see, on August 18th, so in history news, in 1992, the Boston Celtics forward Larry Bird retired. So that's $5. If you've ever played basketball, gone bird watching, or flew the bird, if you know what I mean, and shame on you if you did. So that's a $5 fine. Helium was discovered in, oh, I think I saw that there, a bird being flown. Helium was discovered in 1868 by a French astronomer. So if you've ever blown up a balloon, or popped a balloon, or if you were one of those guys that sucked in the helium and talked funny, those are all $5 fines. Also in history news, Joseph Seagram died today in 1919, but obviously his whiskey lived on. So if you ever drank whiskey or you're old enough to have mixed a highball, that's a $5 fine. The Australian cricket team competed a 4-0 series win over England during their undefeated invincible tour on today's date. And really your response should be, who cares? But it was on the list. Let's see, what else do we have to report? Holiday news, it's Elvis week. So if you've ever shaked your hips, worn a white jumpsuit, I don't know if we'll see that on Phil Loma next week, or you think of yourself as a hunk of burning love. We know there's some of those out there. Look at that. There's Stuart. He's got his Elvis going. That's a $5 fine. It's also National Safe and Sound Week. So do remember to, safely tie your shoes, watch where you walk, and please don't stub your toe in the dark, because it usually ends up with some swearing involved in that. Today is National Birth Control Pill Day. Just saying, probably remembering one day is probably not going to be the best solution there. So, but anyway, it was on the list. Here's a couple of interesting facts to keep in mind. A sneeze travels out of your mouth more than 100 miles per hour. So this explains the need for masks. And I'm glad that we socially distanced right from the start. So that helped me make feel better about that. Also, if you're looking for a little weight loss tip today, the human body holds 4.4 pounds of bacteria. So make sure, you can think about longer showers, maybe wash some of that off and lose a couple pounds. Looks like a couple of you are a little overweight, if you know what I mean. So, you might want to clean up a little bit more. If your teenager is hogging the shower in the morning, just remember they're just trying to, cut the weight down on the bacteria. These are all true facts. Believe me, these are all true. It says if you yelled for 8 years, 7 months, and 6 days, you'd have enough sound energy to heat up 1 cup of coffee. So some husbands now have a better understanding of why their wives are pouring them hot coffee in the morning, every morning. So $5 if you're getting yelled at all the time. They say that thinking in a foreign language makes decisions more rational. So this is one reason why Linda Eastman is obviously always so rational. It still doesn't explain why you talk louder and slower when to someone who is not speaking English. So if you've ever done that, that's a $5 fine. And lastly, they say that the average person laughs 13 times a day. And so I hope that we've set you up for a well over average day today with a couple of laughs. Thank you very much. And as always, all those funds certainly go to charity or Jeff Whippy's Electric Fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. It's always a pleasure. Today, it is my extreme pleasure to introduce another new Rotarian. Basically, Joe Abro, you've been chosen to membership in the Rochester Rotary Club because you manifest those qualities of head and heart needed to serve Rotary and impart the message of Rotary to those of whom you come in contact. I charge you to judge yourself by the Rotary four-way test in the things you think, say, or do. I wish to impress upon you that you're being admitted not only to the Rochester Rotary Club, but also to a worldwide association of individuals dedicated to the Rotary motto of service above self. By the virtue of your membership in this club, you'll be welcomed in the fellowship of any Rotary club in the world. And like I said last week, I mean, I've gone to several. I went to one in Florida and ran into Shirley Goldfrank. The honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it duties and obligations. You will be expected to attend club meetings regularly, actively participate in club service, and offer your knowledge, talents, and energy to the club in its effort to serve our community. I now ask all Rotarians and guests to please rise. Joe, on behalf of the membership of this club, I formally admit you to the membership into the Rochester Rotary Club. Fellow Rotarians, I commend to you our newest member. Yeah! Joe Abro, and charge all of you to welcome him, to engage him in our projects, fun, and fellowship. Let's all give him a warm welcome.
Good job, buddy.
All right, Joe.
Thank you. So I'm happy to speak to that as well. You can.
All right, Joe.
Thank you very much.
You want to take a moment and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for having me in your group. I'm looking forward to it. And thanks for giving me a couple minutes here this afternoon. I'll try to be brief and respectful of your time. I'm sure you're all very busy. My name is Joe Abro. I've been living in Rochester area for a few years now. My job brought me here back in 2017. I work at Raymond James Financial Services. Our office is on Rochester Road, just north of Wabash. So if you're on Barclay Circle and make a right on the Rochester Road, you'll see our office building there, right there on the left. Before joining Raymond James, I graduated from Michigan State. Don't hold it against me. With a pre-law major, I minored in religious studies, and from there went on to Michigan State's College of Law. Went through that program, passed the Michigan bar exam the following summer, and started practicing law for about a year. And then this opportunity came up at Raymond James, and I decided to go this route. I didn't know I could hold meetings as an attorney in the park. Otherwise, maybe I would have thought a little bit harder on that, but it sounds like that comes with a bill too. So maybe I made the right decision there. But yeah, so far so good. I don't have any children, haven't been married yet, but right now just grateful to have ended up in the Rochester area. I've lived in a few places across the state, nothing wrong with those communities, but to me this is as good of a place to start a family as it gets. So I'm thankful for that, and looking forward to serving the community more through Rotary, and I'm excited for the opportunities and really the structure that the Rotary provides. I'm a member at Oakland Church, and I have really one main hobby. It's more of an avocation, and that is I officiate college football. So on most fall Saturdays, you can catch me getting booed at and having things thrown at me when we mess something up, and you all know we certainly do that. I started working high school games about 10 years ago, and little by little, started working small college football, and then into the NCAA ranks Division III, which is schools you're all familiar with, Albion, Adrian, Hope, Alma, Kalamazoo, and I'm currently at the Division II level, which is schools like Grand Valley State, Saginaw Valley, Wayne State. I think we have a Wayne State fan in the crowd here today. So forgive me if we messed up one of your team's games recently, but I'll continue to pursue that and see where it goes. And I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person and hopefully doing some good service together. And thanks again for giving me some of your time this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the club. That's awesome. Mr. Tim Duncan, do you have a speaker for us to talk today?
Yep. He unmuted. Hang on one second. Okay, I got it. Everybody hear me? I'm still muted again. Am I unmuted? Okay, I'm good. All right, yeah, yes. Our speaker for today is Dennis Kolar. Mr. Kolar has 40+ years of experience in the road business, including 35 years with the Road Commission of Oakland County. He was appointed Managing Director effective January 2nd, 2012 by the Board of Road Commissioners. Previously, he served as a Deputy Managing Director, County Highway Engineer since 2005 after having held a variety of other executive level positions within the agency. Prior to joining RCOC, Dennis worked for the Michigan Department of Transportation, MDOT. He is a registered professional engineer and a graduate of Lawrence Technological University. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Dennis Kolar.
Oh, thank you. As you can see, we're down here in the bowels of the Road Commission's world headquarters in Beverly Hills. And off to the side is Craig Bryson. He's the voice and the face you'll hear or see when there's information to release either on projects or, of course, during winter maintenance. He gets a lot of phone calls, and it's better that he gets them in the early morning hours than for me. But it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you. Today, I'll just go over, who we are briefly as a road commission, talk about funding. Us road guys always talk about funding. I'm sure the mayor knows that. And really what the funding has done and how it's been affected by COVID, what we're doing about COVID, how we're operating, talk a little bit about roundabouts, and touch on a couple projects that are going to be coming in the Rochester area.
Can you all see the screen?
No, not yet. We just see you guys.
Okay.
I can share it if you'd like. Just let me know when to advance the slide.
Would you please?
All right.
All right, you got it?
Yep.
All right. So who's the road commission? Well, across the United States, there's only one state that has road commissions, and that's Michigan. And that starts back in 1913 when it was actually an early form of consolidating governments. There's so many townships all had their own separate road divisions that in Michigan they had the idea, let's combine all the township road departments into one entity called the Road Commission. So we're separate from the county government, except that our tie is that the 3 road commissioners are appointed by the county board. Currently, we have about 437 employees, and that's really down from our peak before the Great Recession. We had 556. So we're running with similar numbers that we had in the 60s. This year, we started out with a $162 million budget. And because of what we're seeing as a reduction in revenue, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, we've already cut 10 million out of this year's budget, so we can bring our budget in online, because obviously we can't run a deficit. In Oakland County, we have the largest county road system in the state with over 2,700 miles of roads. And a note there is we still have 755 miles that are gravel. And when I talk to some of my colleagues or outstate road commissions and tell them how many miles we have of gravel road, they're pretty surprised. They think of Oakland County as being quite urban. And gravel roads certainly present a whole host of other challenges that are different than paved roads. We also maintain pretty much all of the state highways or trunk lines. It's 230 miles. And MDOT pays us, we receive about $10 to $11 million a year for maintaining their system. We maintain all 97% of all the traffic signals, and we have over 150,000 road signs to take care of. There's 3 levels of road jurisdiction in Michigan. The state roads will either have an IM or US attached to them. County roads, and the Road Commission has over 2,700 miles. What you need to know is that in cities, we typically have probably every other mile road is a Road Commission jurisdiction. But in cities and villages, they have jurisdiction over all of the subdivision or sublocal streets. Whereas in the townships, the Road Commission has jurisdiction. So the cities and villages, there's 2,700 miles. So we're upwards of 5,600 miles of roads in Oakland County. And this is a slide that Craig and I use quite often, but you know, there's always the cry of why are our roads so bad? And we can talk later if there's questions about our materials and all these other things, but it really boils down to, if you look at where Michigan's been in investing in roads. And you can see roads have ranked in the bottom 10 since the 60s. So in the end, you do get what you pay for. Here's some information from SEMCOG. I like to bring in data from others, so it's not looking like we're trying to slant the data. But Michigan spends 63% of what the US average is, and that's for new construction. I'll move on. And during the Rick Snyder era, if you will, as governor, he made roads and road funding an issue or something that needed to be resolved. So it took a number of years, and finally in 2015, there was a compromise and came up with a plan to generate 1.2 billion annually. And just to step back, if you recall, back then, there were numbers thrown around that were considerably larger than 1.2 billion. There's numbers that were about 3 billion a year. So what was settled on was certainly far less than some of the, the experts and those of us involved in the road business thought we needed. So in 2015, they passed a package that says, okay, 2 years later in 2017, we'll raise the fuel tax to 26.3 cents a gallon. Now it is the same now between diesel and gas. And if you look at the slide, you could see that prior to that, diesel fuel was getting somewhat of a discount compared to gasoline. Raise vehicle registration fees by 20%. And they added a new surcharge for electric vehicles, which certainly, I believe it's either $50 or $75 is kind of light, if you will. So all of this generates about $600 million a year. Now, one thing I need to point out to you is that this $600 million is constitutionally protected. So that means our friends in the legislature, when things change or you have a pandemic, they can't reach their hands in there and use that funding for something else. Now, the second part of this 1.2 billion or the 600 million is a different story. What they decided back then is that they were going to phase in using general fund revenue and put it through the road formula. So it's a phase-in. So 150 million in fiscal year 19, 3.25 for this year, and 600 million starting next year and to continue on. So now we're in our COVID budget crisis. And reading the paper and keeping our fingers on the pulse of what's happening in Lansing right now for 2021, they believe they could be about 3.1 billion short. And that's certainly if Congress or some other relief doesn't happen. Well, if you're in the legislature or even the governor for that matter, and you're looking at, we have to take 600 million out of the general fund and put it to roads, that looks like a pretty easy grab. Now, granted, this year we're already received 3.25 out of that 600. So if they take the whole 600, that's cutting back on what we're even been able to do this year. So when we look at it, if the legislators decide that 600 million needs to go to pay down or balance the budget, pretty much all of 100% road commission funded projects we would have to put on pause or cut. And there's a potential for when we receive federal aid for road construction projects, the federal highway will pay 80%, and then the local match is 20%. And typically, if we have a project like Rochester Hills, we'll split that local match. But we could be in a position where it's going to be tough for us to match some of our federal aid. Should they take the whole 600? And we would go back to where we were before the Snyder increase, to essentially focusing on critical road maintenance. And you would see a pretty rapid decline in the condition of the roads. And before I get on the rest of this slide, I think I would hope that you have seen over the past 2 or 3 years that there's been a lot of resurfacing that's gone on in the county. And that's been our effort. The charge my board gave me was that when we're receiving this additional funding, that we're putting as much as we can into the road surface itself. Moving on about how we've dealt with COVID-19. We were designated essential service, or have been by the federal government, and we're kind of like the people that are way in the back, right? Are we essential? Well, if your traffic signal doesn't work and there's signs down and there's trees across the road and the road's flooded, then we become pretty essential. So what we looked at is adjusting some of our schedules for our road operations crew, our maintenance people and traffic safety folks that are out on the road every day. We split those folks up into 2 groups. We worked one group 30 hours Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The next group, we worked Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 30 hours. And then we paid them 10 hours of on-call time. Should we need them outside of their normal work, their 30-hour work week. And we did that for almost 2 months. Everybody that we could send home, our administrative staff, we could set them up at home. Right now we have about 80 that are working remotely, or some of them that may come in 1 day a week if they have to, but we're still trying to practice having as few people, in the buildings, that we only having folks that it's necessary. Certainly the COVID protocols. I give out weekly communications to all the road commission staff. And it's about social distancing, hand washing. We beat that horse a lot. I mentioned earlier, we cut $10 million from this year's budget. We were scheduled to build a new signal shop right before the COVID hit. Maybe it was a blessing. We were going to spend a little bit over $3 million for a new signal shop, and we had to put pause on that. And the rest of it, we reduced our preservation overlays and cut out some of the 100% projects. Okay, construction-wise and project-wise, most of our major work is done by contractors. And early on with the COVID-19, we're getting a lot of conflicting messages from whether it was the county, the state, or the feds. So we did have some issues where contractors and subcontractors were questioning, what do they have to do? What happens if somebody doesn't want to work? And so there was a little bit of a slow start. But with the weather that we've had great weather this year. And one thing is we can get a lot of work done when we have weather like we've had. We've asked the public, and we continue to ask the public, don't approach our workers. We put one person in a truck. There's a lot of other things we do. Right now, and hopefully I'm not going to jinx us, I can count on one hand out of our 436 employees, really, how many have been or contracted the virus, and all of them have not contracted the virus from another road commission employee. They were exposed elsewhere, and quite frankly, we were pretty fortunate that we've caught them before they, in many cases, or a few cases, before they even entered the building. We were able to work with Wayne State University and Ford Motor Company, and we're able to set up and offer this no swab test or antibody blood testing for all. We offered it to all employees, and we had 180 who took us up on it, and we're proud to say that they all tested negative. The next bullet talks about, as part of the CARES Act, we were required to give all of our employees 80 hours of sick time. And we've done that. A little concerned, some people like to burn up their sick time right out of the gate. So I'm sure we're gonna have some issues with that. But because as we're all aware, the pandemic is continuing. So, but we followed the CARES Act and gave our folks the hours that the act said to. And we closely follow the governor's orders. All of our buildings are still closed to the public. We're doing virtual board meetings, and we'll continue that until 28, I believe it's 28 days after the emergency order expires. And again, this is all to try to minimize the effects of the pandemic. Okay, enough of pandemic time. Here's one of the things that we're really proud of here at the Road Commission, and that's our safety success story. When you're traveling roads in Oakland County, you're traveling the safest roads, definitely in the United States, if not the world, for an area of our size and population. And this is a result of, it started with our first managing director, John Gruba, in 1978, when he made safety our priority. And I always say that wasn't like it wasn't a priority ahead of time. What John had the vision to do was we established procedures and methods and how we examine our road network. That's really made a big difference. And here's a graph that shows that. In 1967, there's 206 fatalities, and we'll get in the drill down a little deeper. And you can see that the graph has had a downward trend. 2019, you can see that we've had a slight increase. Well, we're finding starting like in 2013 that some of these accidents or fatalities are a result of distracted driving and drinking and driving. So if you're in the stats, here's some cool stats. In 1967 shows the population was half of what it is. The vehicle miles traveled was these 4 times less. And you look at the difference in fatalities. I know some of you are thinking there's been a lot of advances in the automotive industry, and that certainly plays a factor, but we'll show you something else here. Okay, let's get this down into fatality rate. It's per 100 million vehicle miles of travel, and compare where we are in Oakland County as compared to the state of Michigan and across the United States. So you can see that we're almost half of the state rate and significantly less than across the United States. So while, remember, all the cars are equal in this. So what's different? I think it's different on how we analyze and address safety. Okay, we work extensively with crash data analysis, and the Transportation Improvement Association of Michigan provides us with a lot of data on crashes. And we drill down and we look at this data a lot differently. You might have recently, our friends at Auto Law like to release a nice press release saying the most dangerous intersections are in southeast Michigan, and one of them that'll come up is our 14-mile road and Orchard Lake Road roundabout. Well, there's 55,000 cars a day that go through there, and you're going to have some fender benders. Just because you have a fender bender doesn't, quote, make it dangerous. We analyze these accidents. We look at the crash type, and we look at the injuries that are caused by that crash. But to give you an idea, once a year, typically in the fall, the operating departments, which would be our maintenance, traffic safety, and engineering departments, sit down with our county highway engineer, and we look at the 50 top intersections and our 50 top links, and go through each one of them and talk about them. If there's something that we can fix that we think is going to help that intersection relatively simply, maybe it's signal work, maybe it needs some different signing, maybe we need to trim some sight distance objects, or somebody placed something in the right of way that shouldn't be there. All those things we'll address immediately. Now, if it needs more than that, that's how we get things into our project bucket. We also do safety audits. Okay, we've selected a project. Now what? Well, before we build it, we'll have engineers look at it, look at the design, see if we believe that we're addressing the issues. And once the project's built, we go back and say, okay, how well did we do? Did we do everything we said we were going to do? Because quite honestly, sometimes there could be utilities, there could be other things that there's some changes during construction that might affect that. And then we get into a conversation, well, why did we do this? And should we go back and fix it? But the whole point here is we spend a lot of time analyzing our crash locations. So I talked about the fatality rate per 100 million miles driven. What does that really mean? Well, and actually we just got some new numbers, but this means that there's 60 more people, at least 60 more people alive in Oakland County every year based on that fatality rate. So that's the real number. Now, you don't realize it because you're driving the road, you're driving these safe roads, you don't have anything to compare it to. You certainly can complain about maybe our signal timing or you don't like roundabouts, but you're traveling some of the safest roads around. Which leads me into talk about roundabouts. That was the Tinkin and Livernois. So why roundabouts? And why do we have the highest concentration of roundabouts in Michigan? Well, it's see the number one thing there is safety. We know they add capacity and in general, people like it, but we really got into roundabouts with our Northwestern Connector project, which was along Orchard Lake Road from 14 Mile Road up to Maple and then across Maple to Haggerty. We're looking at a corridor that's very heavily traveled and how do we get the most out of it and do it safely? And that's where roundabouts came in. So again, here's some data from outside of the Road Commission, Insurance Institute, and it gets down to 90% reduction in fatalities and injuries. Federal Highway, validates that. And look at the reduction in injury crashes. And for us, we've had no fatalities. We've had 11 serious injury crashes. And what you see there, 6 of them involved motorcycles since our first roundabout in 1999. Okay, the last slide is just to show you what's going to happen in the Rochester area. We're working on DeQuinder from Utica to north of Auburn. In 2022, if you travel over the Avon and by the cider mills, you might want to look for a different route, as we'll be constructing a roundabout at Avon and DeQuinder, and then the bridge by the cider mill, it's time for it to be replaced. The 2 other bridges, Tinkin and Parkdale over the Stony Creek, those are what we call bridge preventative maintenance. That's what PM stands for. And those are typically working on the decks and doing a small investment to prolong the life. We've been doing this for a few years and we're seeing good results out of tending to these bridges before they get too bad. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Great, thanks, Dennis. There were 3 questions that popped up in the chat, the chat room or the chat dialogue. Can you guys see those or no?
We're going to take a look. How much money have you received with the Governor Whitmer road package to date? 0. Governor Whitmer's package is 100% for the MDOT system. Matter of fact, I believe they're going out for the bonds soon. It might even be this week yet. So no, we have not received anything from Whitmer. Is the Road Commission in charge of removing dead animals from the road? Typically in a city, we'll rely on the city outside of it being a deer. We pick up deer because the DEQ won't. But if it's more of the domestic type animals, we rely on cities and townships to do that. Okay, there are graphs showing dangerous intersections. What do you do when an intersection is near the top? Well, we'll drill down and look at the data we have. And as I mentioned, then we'll drill down deeper. Does it need right turn lanes? Does it need a roundabout? Does it need new signalization? What is it going to take to improve it? And quite frankly, there are some high crash intersections that it's very difficult to improve them a whole lot. Now, that's just a handful of them. And I'm thinking of like Crooks and Big Beaver in Troy. It's a very heavily traveled corridor. And what we find out on a lot of accidents, it's poor decision-making on behalf of the driver. So, and until we get to autonomous vehicles, we'll get to a point where we're doing everything we can. Any other questions? Feel free. We're happy to answer.
Okay, Dennis, thank you for that interesting talk. It's like it's like where are we going to be with no money coming in? Our roads are not great to begin with, and it's like if you guys aren't supported, we're really going to be hurting.
President Ron?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I could just had my hand raised, but maybe it doesn't work. I just wanted to thank Dennis and Craig. Quick question. Why do you spend money in any city besides Rochester Hills? That's my first question. And
because your brother's in the township.
I don't have a brother. No, seriously, most, I think you've said this in your presentation and you've said it before, certainly most people don't understand road ownership. And in a city like Rochester Hills, you guys own almost all of the sort of traditional mile roads, and we own all the internal stuff. And so a lot of the stuff, the action happens on the mile roads, and you guys have just been a great partner. And I just want to thank you for the way you jump into service just about every time. We've done some really unique things with the Road Commission where we've forwarded the money a couple years in advance, and they've done the work and paid us a couple years later, so we've been in a financial position to do some stuff that has allowed us to kind of take advantage where other communities haven't. And the Road Commission's always been a really good partner. The Auburn Road corridor, I guess that's a little bit of a separate deal, but we've worked. There's areas where we house some of their trucks and work on them. They take care of us. We've taken over parts of jurisdictions of the road. If we want to do more than they can, it's just a great partnership. And it's not super sexy, but man, you guys deal with it every day. From between now and the next time you Zoom, you're going to be on an Oakland County Road Commission road. And those guys, Craig, Dennis, the team, they do a great job. So thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again for the Road Commission and specifically you, Dennis, for your time today to brief us.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
That's going to end our meeting a little bit late, but it was interesting. So the meeting will be adjourned. We will keep the Zoom open for the next probably 15, 20 minutes for people that want to chat. So ding, ding, meeting's over.